So the Pixel Dailies theme recently was Pearl, and I knew I was going to have a ton of fun playing with the colors. I've seen pearls exhibit a lot of rainbow and iridescent hues, and because color is my art fundamental focus right now, I thought a pearl earring would be a perfect opportunity to polish my skills. In trying to stick to some kind of process, I've been starting with the rough silhouette first, and then moving on to the finer details. And since this piece didn't have a strict canvas size that I had to stick to, my focus with the sizing was to make the gaps of the earring stud as small as possible, and then size everything around that. Once I had this silhouette here, I was staring at it and I realized the pearl felt a little bit too small compared to the clasp mechanism or whatever that's called. So I made it just a touch bigger and everything felt a little bit better. At this point it felt right to move past the silhouette and onto the colors. Since the stud is gold, I thought, oh, let me start with some bright yellow tones, thinking that it would add this really bold, shiny quality. However, as I kind of got a lot of the colors placed in where I thought that they needed to go, the saturation was just way too intense. I couldn't get it to look like the kind of pure polished gold that you see in the reference image. To fix this, I used the eyedropper tool and found that tones closer to orange with more of a reduced saturation was kind of the basis for the colors. It's not perfect, but this is much closer to the reference. And this shift gave the stud a more natural kind of warm glow rather than this bright in-your-face yellow. With the stud sorted, I turned my attention to the pearl. And when I was doing the research trying to find reference images, I noticed that a lot of pearls had this beautiful iridescent quality, especially on the border between the light and the dark. And I tried hard to capture what I had seen in these reference images in the piece that I did. So on the lighter side, I used white tones with a little bit of blue in them, and on the dark side I used these really desaturated pink tones, but later on I kind of layered more colors over this using I believe it's called the alpha compositing tool, and that helped a ton to give everything these soft adjustments that was closer to what I had seen in all the references. It was really interesting coloring the pearl because I had noticed that the reference images, they don't have this perfect lighting scheme as if the pearl was perfectly spherical. They're probably just slightly dented, I guess, if that's the right word. And I think that just adds to these really cool patterns that you'll see kind of play across the surface when light hits it at certain angles. And so once I kind of stood back, I was really happy with the combination of colors that I had chosen and kind of the pattern that I had laid them out in. And it gave the pearl this kind of delicate but still luminous feel. I really liked to see everything come to life as I layered in the tones. Throughout this piece, I thought a lot about how really small adjustments, whether it's the proportion of the pearl or the saturation of the colors or even just the hue, they can really transform a work. Looking at this earring now, a few days later as I'm editing the video, I actually see so many slight adjustments that I'd like to make, but I've learned that feeling never really goes away and you're constantly tinkering and oh, maybe if I change this pixel here or this pixel there. The important thing I think is that I'm pretty happy with how everything turned out and I need to just leave it at that and move on to the next piece. And last but definitely not least is just a really quick mention for other people's art submissions for this Pixel Dailies theme. And we've got this Girl with a Pearl Earring by Coin Crown, this Pearl from SpongeBob by Travis Battles, just a regular pearl by Steel Soldier, and then another regular pearl by, I don't know if it's Ads or by ADS, but I just thought that these pieces were really cool, really creative, and you can learn a lot about creativity and the technical aspects of art, I think, by seeing not only the way that other people interpret the same prompt as you, but how they execute on things like shading a sphere. Anyways, thank you so much for watching.